Have you ever felt like you see the world a little too clearly? Like the things that make others happy barely move you, and the truths they cling to feel too small for your mind to rest inside? Maybe you've noticed how silence speaks louder than words, how people wear masks so long they forget their own faces. You watch them chase what they've been told to want, and you wonder if something's wrong with you for not wanting it too, but deep down you know the truth. You're not broken. You're just awake in a world that prefers sleep. You've seen it since you were young, the way curiosity is punished and obedience is praised, the way people celebrate comfort, not clarity. You ask questions that others avoid, and somehow that makes them uncomfortable. They look at you differently, not because you're wrong, but because you remind them of the lies they've made peace with. You notice how they fill the silence with noise, how they confuse movement for progress, how they mistake belonging for purpose. And the more you notice, the more alone you feel. It's as if seeing clearly has become your exile. You try to fit in. You try to shrink your thoughts, to soften your words, to make your edges round enough for others to hold without cutting themselves. But it never works. They sense it, the quiet rebellion in your eyes, the untamed questions beneath your calm surface. So they pull away. They call you distant, detached, too serious, too intense. They don't realize what you carry inside, a mind that refuses to settle for illusions, a heart that aches for truth, even when truth burns. You begin to wonder if maybe ignorance really is bliss, if maybe blindness is the price of belonging. But here's the thing. It's not your fault that the world feels too small for your thoughts. Society was built to protect itself from minds like yours. It rewards imitation, not imagination. It loves those who follow the map, not those who redraw it. Because real intelligence, deep, uncomfortable intelligence, doesn't just see what is, it sees what could be. And that's dangerous. People don't fear intelligence because it's powerful. They fear it because it reveals their own cages. They fear the person who sees through the walls they've spent their lives defending. So they push you out, call you arrogant, tell you you think too much. But you don't think too much. You just think differently. There's a kind of sadness that comes with that awareness, a quiet ache that sits between your ribs. It's the loneliness of knowing too much, of feeling too deeply, of sensing the patterns others ignore. You see the madness in their routines, the emptiness behind their smiles, and still you keep going. Because you can't unsee what you've seen. You can't go back to pretending. You crave something real, connection that isn't built on masks, purpose that isn't borrowed, peace that isn't numbness. But the world doesn't offer that easily. You have to carve it yourself. And yet, beneath all that pain, there's something extraordinary waiting. You may not realize it yet, but the very thing that makes you feel out of place is your greatest strength. You are not meant to blend in. You are meant to disrupt, to question, to awaken. Every time you've been rejected for thinking differently, it wasn't proof of your failure, it was proof of your depth. Society cannot embrace what it does not yet understand. And that's why it rejects the truly intelligent. Because intelligence isn't about knowing facts, it's about seeing patterns others can't. It's about holding contradictions without needing to resolve them. It's about feeling the pulse beneath the noise and daring to speak what others only sense in silence. So if you've ever felt unseen, take this as your sign. You are not invisible. You are simply ahead of your time. The world may not be ready for how you think, but that doesn't mean your vision doesn't matter. It means it's needed. Your solitude is not emptiness, it's incubation. You are becoming something larger than the world that misunderstands you. And though the path feels lonely now, know this: every mind that changed the world once stood exactly where you are. On the edge of understanding, surrounded by disbelief, lit by a fire that refused to die. Stay there, stay awake, because one day, the same world that turned away will look to you for light. You've carried that silence for so long that you almost forgot it has power. The same silence that made you feel small is the space where transformation begins. Because every time you stood apart, every time you refused to follow the noise, something inside you was sharpening. You weren't lost. You were preparing. The world told you to conform, to be smaller, to be easier to understand. But you were never meant to be understood. You were meant to be felt. You were meant to shake the foundations of what people believe is possible. They tried to convince you that intelligence was a burden, that awareness was a curse. But that's a lie told by those who fear their own potential. They traded truth for comfort and called it happiness. But comfort never created change. It never awakened anything. Real intelligence is dangerous because it exposes what is false. It cuts through illusion, reveals the machinery beneath appearances. And when you begin to see it, you realize something that changes everything. The system isn't broken. It's designed to break you. It feeds on distraction, on obedience, on quiet desperation. It needs you busy enough to forget your brilliance, afraid enough to never question the script. But there's a moment, an invisible breaking point, when awareness becomes unbearable to suppress, when your inner voice grows louder than their noise. That's when everything shifts. That's when intelligence becomes rebellion. Because once you start thinking for yourself, you stop being useful to the system that profits from your confusion. And that's when you become powerful. That's when you stop being a follower and start becoming a creator of reality. Most people spend their lives running from that moment. You are here because you didn't. You've already felt it. The pull to something bigger than yourself. The quiet knowing that you're meant for more than repetition and routine. That's not arrogance. That's truth whispering beneath the static. Every time you've doubted yourself, every time you've questioned whether you're too different, understand this. You are exactly as different as the world needs you to be. Every revolution begins with someone who refuses to think like everyone else. Every leap in human evolution started with a question that others were too afraid to ask. The loneliness you feel is not separation. It's distance from the noise. It's clarity waiting to become purpose. But purpose demands courage. It asks you to face what others deny, to walk paths that have no maps, to trust your own vision when no one else can see it. That's why so few do it. Because awakening doesn't make life easier, it makes it real. It strips away illusion until only truth remains. And truth demands action. It asks you to stop watching from the sidelines and start living with intention. It asks you to take everything you've felt, all the pain, the confusion, the rejection, and forge it into something unshakable. A will, a calling, a light. You are not here to be accepted. You are here to awaken others by example, to show that intelligence isn't about complexity. It's about honesty. It's about seeing clearly and still choosing compassion. It's about holding the weight of the world and refusing to let it harden you. That is real strength, the kind that can't be taught, only lived. The kind that comes from standing in your truth, even when it costs you comfort, belonging, certainty. That's the cost of awareness. But it's also the key to freedom, because once you stop needing the world's approval, you become unstoppable. You start moving from your own center, guided not by fear, but by understanding. You begin to see that every rejection was redirection. Every wound was a doorway. Every silence was an invitation to listen deeper. And in that silence, you'll hear something sacred, your own voice, unfiltered, unshaken, undeniable. That's what society truly fears, not intelligence itself, but the person who has learned to think, to feel, and to live without permission. So stand in it. Don't wait for the world to recognize you. Become undeniable. Let your clarity speak louder than their comfort. Let your mind cut through the fog. Let your existence challenge the narrative that kept you small. Because once a single person dares to see beyond the illusion starts to crumble. You are that person. You always were. And when you finally embrace that truth, when you stop apologizing for your depth, the same world that once rejected you will begin to follow the light you've carried all along. The moment you stop apologizing for your vision, everything changes. The noise fades. The pressure to belong loses its grip. You begin to move with a quiet power that can't be faked or borrowed. You stop waiting for permission to be who you already are. That's when true intelligence becomes freedom. Not the kind that looks impressive to others, but the kind that burns inside you, unshakable and alive. The kind that cannot be controlled because it no longer fears being misunderstood. You realize the cage was never around you. It was within you, built from every time you chose approval over authenticity. But now, the lock is gone, and you are standing on the edge of something vast and real. The world will still test you. It will try to pull you back into comfort, whispering that peace means silence. But peace is not silence. Peace is strength without anger, awareness without despair. It's the calm that comes when you finally stop betraying what you know to be true. The moment you stop fighting your own depth, you become untouchable. Not because life gets easier, but because you grow beyond its shallow games. They can judge you, doubt you, reject you, but they cannot reach you anymore. You are operating on a different frequency, one built on truth instead of validation. This is where the real work begins, the point where knowledge must turn into action. Awareness means nothing without courage. You've seen the patterns, you've felt the illusion, but now you must live differently. You must speak when silence is convenient. You must create where destruction is profitable. You must keep your mind awake in a culture built to lull it back to sleep. Because intelligence without action is paralysis, and you are not meant to be a spectator in your own awakening. The world doesn't need another quiet observer. It needs a conscious participant. Someone who dares to live fully, to love deeply, to question loudly. That someone is you. Every system that controls people depends on their willingness to doubt themselves. That's the first chain you must break. You are not too small to make a difference. You are not too late, too strange, or too damaged. You are precisely where you are meant to be, carrying the exact experiences that shaped your vision. The pain you've endured wasn't random, it was preparation. It carved empathy into your intelligence. It made you capable of understanding others, not from superiority, but from compassion. That's what makes you dangerous to the system. You can see through it, but you can also love through it. You can build bridges where others build walls. And yet, knowing the truth isn't enough. The test of your intelligence is what you choose to do with it. Do you retreat into cynicism, or do you turn your clarity into creation? The choice will define your life. The ones who change the world aren't the loudest. They are the most awake. They act from stillness, not from fear. They know that light doesn't shout, it reveals. So reveal. Let your actions speak the language your words cannot. Let your mind be sharp, but your heart remain open. Because true intelligence doesn't divide, it unites. It doesn't destroy the system with anger. It transforms it with understanding. It doesn't fight darkness. It becomes the light that makes darkness irrelevant. This is the moment when your awakening stops being about you and starts being about everyone you'll touch. Your presence becomes a mirror, reflecting possibility back into eyes that have forgotten how to see. Every time you choose truth over comfort, someone else feels permission to do the same. That's how change begins, not in headlines or revolutions, but in hearts that remember what it means to feel alive. You are not here to escape the world. You are here to elevate it, to turn your isolation into illumination, your doubt into direction, your difference into destiny. So rise. Don't wait for the perfect moment. It's already here. Don't wait for the world to change. It's waiting for you to start. The truly intelligent are not defined by what they know, but by what they awaken in others. That is your calling, to see clearly, to love fiercely, to walk fearlessly, to remind this sleeping world that intelligence isn't rebellion, it's evolution. And you are the proof that evolution has already begun. You are standing at a crossroads, though you may not realize it. Every moment you hesitate, the world nudges you back into sleep, back into comfort, back into forgetting who you really are. But you feel it, the pull towards something bigger, something unavoidable. The spark in your mind refuses to be snuffed out. That spark is more than thought. It is your purpose, your power, your signal to the world that the game has changed, and now it's time to act. To move with deliberate force, to speak with precision, to live with the awareness that every choice carries weight. The moments you waste doubting yourself are moments lost forever. The world doesn't wait. The clock never stops. And you cannot afford to shrink. Intelligence is dangerous because it disrupts. It exposes lies. It questions authority. It reveals the cracks everyone else chooses to ignore. That is why it is feared. But fear is not a reason to hide. It is a call to rise. Every time society rejected you, it tested your resolve. Every time you were mocked, isolated, or misunderstood, it was measuring whether your fire was real. And it is. You feel it in your chest, in the sharp clarity of your mind, in the unrelenting hunger for truth. That fire cannot be controlled, cannot be tamed, and cannot be denied. And now it is time to use it. To illuminate, to transform, to awaken not just yourself, but the people who have forgotten how to see. Your uniqueness is not a flaw. It is your weapon. Every mind that changed the course of history carried the same burden you do now: isolation, criticism, the constant tension between knowing and belonging. And yet they persisted. They refused to bow to mediocrity. They refused to let the fear of rejection dictate their choices. They chose awareness over ease, clarity over comfort, courage over conformity. And because they did, they became unstoppable. They became lights in the darkness. You are no different. The same strength pulses in you, waiting for permission to rise, waiting for you to embrace it fully, without apology, without hesitation. But understanding alone is not enough. Intelligence must be forged into action. It must be lived. You must move through the world deliberately, aware of the illusions around you, refusing to participate in games that drain life instead of enriching it. Every decision, every word, every thought carries consequence. You can no longer afford to drift. You can no longer afford to accept half-truths or borrowed opinions. The world demands clarity. The world demands courage. The world demands you, and in the silence of your own mind you can feel it. The unmistakable pulse of responsibility, not as a burden, but as proof that you have been chosen to act. This is where the stakes are highest. The gap between who you are and who you could become is narrowing every second. If you falter, the opportunity slips. If you shrink, the spark dims. If you conform, the voice that can awaken others remains unheard. But if you rise, if you act, if you embrace the magnitude of your own mind, you become more than yourself. You become a catalyst. You become a force that reshapes reality. Every act of courage, every refusal to conform, every decision to honor truth over comfort, creates ripples that spread far beyond your sight. The fire inside you does not burn alone. It ignites everything it touches. Do not waste another moment waiting for validation. Do not allow fear to dictate your path. Step fully into your power. Let the intelligence that has isolated you now connect you. Let your clarity guide action. Let your courage redefine what is possible. The world is asleep. Its illusions are vast, but the fire inside you is real, relentless, and unstoppable. And when you embrace it, when you act with deliberate awareness, you will see that the very society that once rejected you is powerless against the light you carry. You are awake, you are aware, you are unstoppable. And the time to move is now. Every second you hesitate, the world tries to pull you back into its rhythm, back into mediocrity, back into forgetfulness. But you are awake now. You can feel it coursing through your veins, the pulse of clarity that refuses to be ignored. It's uncomfortable, isn't it? To see what others cannot, to understand what they pretend is invisible. That discomfort is the signal. That tension is the doorway. Every time you feel isolated, misunderstood, or rejected, it is proof you are breaking free from the patterns designed to trap the mind and numb the heart. You are moving beyond what is comfortable and stepping into what is inevitable. The world may resist you, but the fire inside you will not be denied. Intelligence is not a gift society celebrates. It is a mirror society fears. When you see the world clearly, when you sense the hidden mechanisms, when you understand the consequences of inaction, it threatens the very illusions people depend on. They call it arrogance, detachment, or rebellion, but it is neither. It is awareness, and awareness carries responsibility. Every truth you hold demands a choice. Do you hide it to belong? Do you temper it to avoid conflict? Or do you use it to ignite change, to disrupt complacency, to awaken others to the reality they cannot see? The stakes are higher than comfort, higher than approval, higher than survival. This is your chance to define your legacy, to shape your life with deliberate consciousness, to refuse the roles the world has scripted for you. Every moment you feel pressure to conform is an invitation to rise. Every moment you face doubt, criticism, or isolation is an opportunity to choose courage. Intelligence without action is wasted potential. Clarity without movement is a shadow of itself. You have seen enough, felt enough, questioned enough to know that inaction is a choice to remain small, unnoticed, irrelevant. But you are not small. You are not irrelevant. The very intensity that isolates you is the same intensity that will allow you to move mountains, to awaken minds, to change narratives. You carry the spark of evolution, and evolution does not wait for comfort. It burns through fear. It demolishes illusions. It demands action. Do not underestimate your influence. Every decision you make radiates outward, unseen yet unstoppable. Every refusal to comply with mediocrity teaches someone else to resist. Every act of courage illuminates a path for those who are lost in darkness. Society fears intelligence because it multiplies. One awakened mind can ripple across generations. One person who chooses awareness over obedience can ignite movements, spark ideas, challenge norms, and inspire revolutions. You are not here to be silent. You are here to be catalytic. The world may try to suppress you, but it cannot suppress what has already awakened. That awakening is unstoppable once embraced. The urgency is real. Time does not pause for hesitation, nor does opportunity linger for doubt. Every second you delay, the world continues in sleep, clinging to illusions, making choices without awareness. And every second you act, the impossible begins to shift, the walls begin to tremble, and the path you carve becomes a lifeline for others. You have been tested, you have been isolated, you have been misunderstood, but all of it was preparation. All of it was forging your resolve. Now is the time to wield that strength, to move with intention, to let your intelligence manifest in ways that matter, not for recognition, not for comfort, but for truth. Rise fully into what you are. Do not allow fear, doubt, or the need for approval to dictate your steps. You have been given the clarity to see beyond illusion. You have been given the courage to stand when others bow. You have been given the responsibility to act when others falter. The world may resist you, it may mock you, it may reject you, but it cannot stop you from becoming what you were always meant to be, a force that awakens, challenges, and transforms. Stand in your light. Move with your mind, act with your heart. The time is now. The moment is yours. And everything you do from here will echo far beyond what you can yet imagine.